of countries that subscribe to the pay up or we perish all together slogan. This is in the quest for climate justice. And the texts from subsequent climate conferences have been disappointing. Mechanisms but no commitment. Nothing to match the loss, the damage and the adaptation finance required. And tonight from the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology in the county of Kakamega, we take a regional look at the climate subject, and my panel will be made up by the host governor here in Kakamega County, Fernandez Barasa, his counterpart from the county of Vihiga, Wilbur Otichilo, who is a climate enthusiast, as well as the vice chancellor of this institution, Professor Solomon Shibairo. Also in their company will be Dr. Caroline Mulinya, who is a senior lecturer at Kaimos Friends University. And finally, to make up that list, will be Alan Ligare, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Mzuri Organics, to talk about the climate question and the multi-governance level policy needed at the county's level in the country. I am Ayub Abdikadir, and this is JKL, and here are the highlights tonight. Cross-border ordeal. Two Kenyan activists, Bob Njagi and Ochieng Oyo, allegedly abducted and detained by Ugandan security personnel in Kampala.
There is no negotiation going on as yet, and we shall remain outside.
Lecturers dig in over pay row as Ministry of Education heads to court in deepening stalemate.
Kuna mimba ndio hiyo nimezaa, sha pia ndio hiyo sasa inatakikana. Ikifika dakika ya mwisho sha ifanyi, ikanibidi nianze kuomba msaada kwa watu.
A year on, the Social Health Authority stands at crossroads. We take stock of the hits and the misses since its rollout.
Despite the laudable efforts of the MSS, the international community had failed to deliver a mission that was fit for purpose.
Kenya-led multinational force winds down in Haiti as the United Nations Security Council clears way for a new mission to take on gang violence. Yolanzale is our sign language interpreter, and from a rainy evening here in Kakamega County, many thanks for making time for the broadcast. We begin at the Ministry of Health, where the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, is now where the billion shilling fraud was controversial in shortlist. The Director of Forensic Audit and Risk Assurance at the Social after lifting the lead on the The storm surrounding the Social Health Authority SHA recruitment saga is deepening, with a fresh controversy over the reported conspicuous omission of whistleblower Andrew Kipkirui Rotich from the latest shortlist. The Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, is demanding answers on why Rotich's name is missing, despite his previous top performance during the April recruitment that saw him appointed Deputy Director of Forensic Audit and Risk Assurance.
The Institute has noted with a lot of concerns media reports that our member, CPA Andrew Kipkirui Rotich, who is currently the Deputy Director of Forensic Audit and Risk Assurance, has lost his position at the Social Health Authority, SHA.
Rotich is no stranger to the spotlight. He was part of the audit team that lifted the lead on an alleged multi-billion shilling medical billing racket, leading to the closure of more than 1,300 drug health facilities. His removal from the shortlist has now fueled speculation of possible retaliation and an attempt to silence whistleblowers.
He has diligently served the nation from his early years at the defunct NHIF through to SHAM. He was part of the audit team that revealed suspected irregularities in medical billing within Kenya public health system, findings that contributed to the ongoing law enforcement and oversight interventions.
We want to make sure our members are treated fairly when they discharge their duties.
Alongside Rotich, two other deputy directors, Ruben Mutwiri Mutura, County Coordination, and Halima Gurai Sanei, Provider Management, have also been reportedly excluded from the new hiring list following a court-ordered repeat of the April exercise. Some government officials, however, have sought to downplay their uproar, insisting Rotich did not apply for the deputy director role in the repeat process, but for assistant director, a position for which they claim he has already been shortlisted and is awaiting interview. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And we do apologize for the technical glitch regarding that story, and to just give you a summary of what it was all about. And it was in regards to the inquiry demanded by the Institute of Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, regarding the whistleblower Andrew Rotich, who exposed the multi-billion shilling fraud at the Social Health Authority, and which the institution said has lost his job after lifting the lead on that scandal at the authority alongside three other deputy directors in the audit department of the authority. We move on, and the National Assembly has approved a motion seeking to privatize the Kenya Pipeline Company, KPC, in a heated session this afternoon that saw members of the National Assembly allied to the opposition staging a walkout, claiming that the motion was sneaked into the order paper late. The members opposed to the privatization process have now vowed to move to court to block the process, which they say is opaque and lacks public participation to engage the Kenyan public. Here's Emmanuel Tor with that report.
Speaker of the National Assembly.
The motion on the consideration of the sessional paper on privatization of the Kenya Pipeline Company and the public privatization bill drew the line in the sand Tuesday afternoon between the government-leaning members of the National Assembly and those in the opposition benches. The opposition team up in arms, terming the planned privatization of KPC as opaque.
The grounds for this privatization is all crooked process, Honorable Speaker. All crooked. All skewed. You are told they're spending lawsuits amounting to 5.7 billion. Your guess is good as mine. Who are the claimants? Who are the lawyers? And who are the brokers?
This issue of Kenya Pipeline will bring a lot of excitement. Kenyans will buy in the IPO. But after the announcement of the financial results in February for the full year, the share company will collapse. And the share price will collapse. And this is the reason. The current investors in the NSC are not buying assets. They are buying revenue.
The heated debate dividing the House down political lines as the government side, led by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, launched a pushback.
And it's good for the Honorable Udo to speak to the gallery and excite those that he seeks to excite. The matter of inclusivity, transparency and accountability have become cardinal in these laws.
The ayes have it.
The majority had their way, passing the motion on the government sessional paper. A section of opposition MPs who stormed out of the House, choosing to address from the media center as the debate continued on the privatization.
Bei ya mafuta leo ikiongezeka, ambayo tunaamini itaongezeka. Sasa ni mtu binafsi ndiye atakuwa kitawala mambo ya Kenya Pipeline. Hii ni ukora wa hali ya juu, ni mipango na mikakati ambayo William Ruto analeta ambaye ni ya kustaajabisha sana.
The sale of Kenya Pipeline has been sneaked in today at 3 p.m. About 30 minutes after members were already in the chamber. And we are going to go to court as a royal opposition, the loyal opposition and the united opposition, to make sure that Kenyans' assets are protected.
The bill seeks to include public participation on the existing law after the High Court quashed another act passed in 2023 for lack of public participation. Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
1 year after the rollout of the Social Health Authority SHA, questions still linger on whether it is living up to the promise of affordable health care in the country. Mission and private hospitals are now pleading for the release of billions of shillings that are in unpaid claims, warning that the delays are choking essential services of health care across the country for Kenyans. Tonight we unpack the hits, the misses, and the human cost for Kenyans caught up in the crossfire between the Social Health Authority and the suspended hospitals, as Mary Mwoki details in the following report.
Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Mission and private hospitals have raised the alarm, accusing the Social Health Authority of starving them of funds and warning that the delays could cripple essential health care. At the heart of Mount Kenya, Bishop Joseph Kibuchwa of the Anglican Church of Kenya in Kirinyaga says the debts owed by SHA and the Social Health Insurance Fund have now become unbearable even to patients.
Mambo ya SHA ni kweli inaumisa kwa sababu hata hapa Mount Kenya Hospital tuko na shida. Kwa sababu tuko na deni, tunahitaji ilipwe na SHA na ni deni kubwa. Ni vizuri tuambie ukweli kwa sababu inaonekana ile watu wanasema, wakubwa wanasema, na ile iko ground ni tofauti kabisa. SHA itafanya mahospitali ya private isimame na ishindwe kuendelea mbele.
And in Kisii, the pain is no longer in boardrooms but in hospital wards. Mary Achieng Okoth was hopeful SHA would cover her maternity costs, a promise made by the government. But when Nyanchwa Adventist Hospital was suspended from the SHA panel over alleged fraudulent billing, that promise disappeared. Instead of going home with her newborn, Mary was detained until a neighbor sold his cow to settle the bill.
Sisi wamama tuko na shida. Unapata mwingine ni mgonjwa, unaenda hospitali. Kama Nyanchwa saa hii sasa. Unaenda unafikiria utatoka tu vizuri na hiyo SHA. Unapata SHA saa hii haifanyi. Tunashindwa tutafanya aje. Ilikuwa ngumu na maisha yangu ilikuwa ngumu. Watoto wako kwa nyumba, niko na mimba, ndio hiyo nimezaa. SHA pia ndio hiyo sasa inatakikana. Ikifika dakika ya mwisho SHA haifanyi. Ikanibidi nianze kuomba msaada kwa watu.
She is not alone. Across rural Kenya, thousands of SHA members have been left stranded as dozens of hospitals remain locked out of the scheme. Families like Mary's must contend with tough choices, paying cash they cannot afford or turning to risky home births.
Niko na ugonjwa ya mfupa. Na ugonjwa ya mfupa hii inaanza kutoka kiunoni mpaka chini. Tarudi nyumbani tu sababu kama SHA wameshafunga. Na SHA ndiye alikuwa wanataka kunisaidia. Na SHA wanataka saa hiyo hela. Nilipe SHA ndiye alafu nitibiwe, nilale kwa kitanda. Na hiyo SHA ndiyo sina sasa.
Sasa ndio tunaomba. Kweli hiyo SHA itufanyie hapo Nyanchwa. Juu Nyanchwa tumependa sana sisi wamama wa Nubia hapa. Sasa vile saa hii imekuwa ngumu, tunaenda Nyanchwa dispensary sasa. Kama imekuja immediately usiku, itabidi uzae kwa nyumba. Juu dispensary hapa ifanyi usiku, ni mchana tu.
A year on, the Social Health Authority is weighed down by fraud claims, technical hitches and logistical gaps. On Tuesday, the Ministry of Health and faith-based organizations struck an agreement on 6 strategic actions to strengthen the rollout of Taifa Care. Whether this collaboration will finally deliver change remains to be seen. But for now, it is the ordinary Kenyan who continues to pay the highest price. Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
And across the border to Uganda, where Kenyan activists Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo were allegedly abducted in Kampala by men believed to be security officials on Wednesday afternoon. The two had reportedly attended a campaign rally of the opposition candidate Bobi Wine, who's challenging President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ahead of the presidential elections in Uganda, adding up to the growing list of concerns of abductions in the region, which human rights and lobby groups say also adds up to the deteriorating state of democracy in the East Africa region. Here is Gatete Njoroge.
These videos recorded during Bobi Wine's campaign in Kamuli district, eastern Uganda on Tuesday, clearly captures Free Kenya Movement chairman Bob Njagi on stage alongside Uganda's opposition leader, who is seeking to unseat President Yoweri Museveni. In other clips, Njagi is seen listening keenly to Bobi Wine and at times joining his entourage as they traversed rural areas. According to a friend who spoke to us on condition of anonymity, the activists left Kenya on Monday and drove to Uganda in the company of 2 Ugandans. Once in Kampala, the Ugandan companions went home, leaving the three Kenyans to link up with Bobi Wine's campaign. On Tuesday, they moved across Buyende and Kamuli with NUP leaders as they campaigned ahead of the 2026 presidential elections. But by Wednesday afternoon, the mission took a darker turn. The group had stopped at a petrol station to repair their car when everything went south.
Around 3 p.m., there were some guys who came with a van. Looked to be grey shade in color. People came out with guns, there were 4 of them. So there was also a lady who was seated in front. They just took Bob and SSG Oyo Ocheng, who is the Secretary General.
The witness who was in their company says he too was picked up but later released.
I told them that my car is not locked. I cannot maybe go to where I don't know. And then they asked me to just get out and then go and lock my car.
The gunmen sped off, and within moments, Njagi and Oyo's phones were switched off. Alone and in the dark in a foreign country, their colleague has not reported the matter to authorities, fearing for his safety.
I don't know where Bob is. I don't know which police station he has been taken to. I honestly don't know where he is as we speak right now. I'm just stranded here.
The alleged abduction comes just 4 months after Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi and Ugandan activist Agatha Atuheire were arrested in Tanzania and later dumped near their country's borders. Both would later claim they were sexually assaulted by Tanzanian authorities. For Njagi, this is not the first time. Last year, he was abducted alongside the Longton brothers over alleged links to anti-government protests and disappeared for more than a month. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
Elsewhere, university lecturers and staff say they will keep out of class as their strike enters the 3rd week. They are now demanding the immediate release of 7.9 billion Kenya shillings in arrears and fresh talks for the 2025-2029 salary deal. But Education CS Julius Ogamba Migos says the government disputes that figure and will head to court on Monday seeking reprieve, and which will leave thousands of students stuck at home, as Willie Lusige details in the following report.
The reality across public universities: empty lecture halls, students left idle with learning ground to a halt. Lecturers and university staff members remain defiant, insisting they will not go back to class until all their demands are met.
As we speak before you now, there is no negotiation going on as yet, and we shall remain outside.
Lecturers are particularly annoyed with SRC's claim that 624 million shillings has already been paid under the 2017-2021 agreement, with push to verify payrolls before any new talks.
7.9 billion is non-negotiable. The only thing remaining is payment.
A threat by vice-chancellors to freeze salaries during the strike and withhold union funds has also been brushed off.
Musikubali kuuziwa uoga. Mukona nia, mukona sababu, na mukona mwelekeo kwa mujibu wa katiba ya nchi hii.
The stalemate has fueled fresh warnings of more strikes, with lecturers insisting broader governance and welfare issues must also be addressed.
The national strike come to an end. Here in TUK, it will just be starting. We have issues to do with the 1721 CBA that led us to go on strike in January. Those issues in the return to work formula that was signed in March 17th have not been sorted.
Solidarity forever. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos Ogamba says the government will seek court intervention to end the stalemate.
The negotiations are ongoing, and we are going to have a court appearance on the 6th of October.
This empty lecture hall is an indication of how education in public universities is now crippled, with the future of thousands of students in limbo. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV at Tuk.
And to this sad story, the family of 14 people who died in a road accident last Sunday has started making funeral and burial arrangements, with the national government promising to assist in the effort to lay their loved ones to rest. The First Lady Rachel Ruto led the community in condoling with the family in Murang'a County as the Ministry of Health now prepares to send advisors to help those affected by the tragic accident.
3 days after this community received news of the devastation that had visited them in the form of a tragic road accident, they gather in their local church, seeking to find some solace and meaning in the big blow that they are still coming to terms with. Their silent sorrow, grief and anguish shared with dignitaries who joined them for this fast of masses in honor of the 14 departed souls, all members of one family. The gravity of the loss now becoming even more clearer.
14 of them. La muhimu sana, tutakuwa tunazika watu 5 hapa kwa familia ya Mbolo. Hapa chini kuna 3. Then katika constituency pale Maire kutakuwa na msichana mmoja tutapeleka. All the way from there tutarudi, tutatoka hapa tutaenda all the way Muiga. Na hiyo military iko hapa Kidumu. Ni vizuri watu wajue hivyo. So tutapeleka. Then on the same, the family watatoka hapa all the way to Naivasha. Unaona? Ni mzigo mkubwa sana.
The deceased were on their way to visit a sick aunt in Nakuru when tragedy struck and wiped out 14 closely related family members. First Lady Rachel Ruto, while condoling with them, implored them to honor their memory by upholding their strong bonds of unity.
And I leave this service today having learned something, even for our nation. What if we loved one another as a nation? What if we considered everyone as a member of our family? What if when we are driving in our roads, we are not careless because we know the next vehicle is being occupied by a member of my family?
Watoto 12 ambao watabaki hawana mama na pia hata hawana grandmother or a grandfather kwenda pahali wanaweza enda. That thing has touched my heart.
This community is now left with memories of their neighbors and kin, as well as the heavy financial and emotional toll of preparing for their burials, a burden that the leaders and community members have begun chipping away at. This service helped to raise more than 4 million shillings that will be used in the funerals.
Thank you, the leaders, for coming out so clearly about caring for the children of the ones that have left us. You know, once the funeral is over, the burden will be real because everybody will have gone back to their homes. Let's continue supporting them.
Wale watabaki, lazima tukuje hapa, tufanye mchango wa kusaidia hawa watoto. Wanahitaji kurudi shule January. Wanahitaji kuendelea na maisha yao. We must come and stand and support those children.
The government, through the Ministry of Health, will provide counseling services for the surviving family members. The family is in the meantime planning the burials of the 14 deceased. They will be interred in 4 different places: Kahiga, Kangui and Gasharage in Murang'a and in Naivasha. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
And the 3rd day of continuous voter registration exercise has recorded a dismal turnout, with most registration centers across the country registering less than 10 persons in a day. A spot check by Citizen TV across the country also established that the targeted young people called on the IEBC to scale up the voter education and awareness. The Commission, on the other hand, also hinted that the low turnout could be as a result of the uncollected identification cards, calling for a distribution of the paperwork. The Commission aims to register 6.3 million new voters ahead of the general elections in 2027.
5 were male and 2 were female. And the age bracket was between 19 and 29 years.
I want to encourage the youths and the Gen Zs to turn up in numbers. So far, being on the 3rd day, We are relatively doing well, although the number is a little bit relatively less.
IBC at least should consider the online platforms, could be the TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, which may help in reaching out majority of the youth.
You're watching a special edition of The Bench coming to you from the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology in Kakamega County. And this evening we'll be talking about the climate question from a regional perspective, and my panel will be made up by the host Governor Fernandez Barasa. Also in his company will be his counterpart from Vihiga County, Wilbur Otichilo, an enthusiast climate advocate, as well as in their company will be the Vice Chancellor of this institution. Hosting us this evening, Professor Solomon Shibairo, as well as Dr. Caroline Mulinya, who is a senior lecturer at Kaimos Friends University. Also in their company will be Alan Ligare, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Muzuri Organics, as we put into context the questions around climate and the debate at the international, at the continental, at the national and at the county level this evening here from the county of Kakamega. Stay tuned. Celebrations mixed with welfare and security concerns as Kenya marks the International Day of Older Persons. You're watching a special edition of The Bench coming to you from the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. And thanks for staying with us. We head to Haiti, where the Kenyan-led multinational security support mission is set to come to an end following the authorization of a new scheme under the Gang Suppression Force after its approval by the United Nations Security Council in New York. This then marks the year since the deployment of the first batch of the Kenyan police contingent to have battled gangs in Port-au-Prince and other cities in the Caribbean country. Seth Olale puts into context the year-long journey for the Kenyan mission and what the future holds for the gang-gripped country in the Caribbean continent.
The fate of the 750 Kenyan police officers who have led the multinational security support mission for the past 12 months in Haiti is uncertain. This is after the United Nations Security Council on Tuesday authorized a new multinational gang suppression force in the country to replace the Kenyan-led security support mission. The resolution, sponsored by the United States and backed by dozens of countries in the region, including Panama, was adopted by a vote of 12 in favor, with 3 abstentions from China, Pakistan, and Russia.
Despite the laudable efforts of the MSS and its contributors, today's vote is a recognition that due to the lack of true burden sharing, the international community had failed to deliver a mission that was fit for purpose.
Under an initial 12-month mandate, the Gang Suppression Force, GSF, in Haiti will work in close coordination with the Haitian National Police and the Haitian Armed Forces to conduct intelligence-led operations to neutralize gangs, provide security for critical infrastructure, and support humanitarian access amid escalating gang violence.
It lacked the scale, scope, and resources needed to take the fight to the gangs and restore a baseline of security in Haiti.
But unfortunately, most of the vehicles were second-hand vehicles, and therefore they broke down a lot many times. And in fact, it put our personnel in great danger.
Haiti is facing nearly 1.3 million internally displaced people, rising kidnappings, widespread sexual violence, and gangs that control large areas of the capital. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
Meanwhile, a family in the county of Kilifi is seeking justice for their 15-year-old daughter who died from head injuries allegedly inflicted by a teacher at Gongoni Primary School in Vipingo. A post-mortem examination has established that Ernestine Tunje, a grade 8 student, succumbed from internal bleeding, as Francis Mtalaki details in the following report.
There is grief, lots of it among members of the family of Anstey Ntunje, a grade 8 pupil who died after she was allegedly beaten by a teacher at Gongoni Primary School in Kilifi South constituency. Her father, Alex Tunje, says the late Anstey Ntunje developed severe headache before she was taken to Kilifi Referral Hospital, where she later succumbed.
Wananiambia kweli, lakini mtoto wako aliumia, aligongwa huyu ama alifanya nini? Yuko hali mbaya kabisa. Kabidi nikamwambia kuna daktari mkubwa amekuja, nikamfuata paka huko aliko. Nikamfuata, alipoongea naye akasema acha nakuja. Akaja kufika hapo akasema huyu basi hata heri ende ICU.
Hakika hiyo kitu iliniuma. Mimi kama mwalimu siwezi punish mtoto namna hiyo. Siwezi kabisa sababu mimi ni mzazi. Na tunafundishwa kwamba kama uko na hasira zako nyumbani, usiwahi ingia darasani, afadhali ukae staff room.
An autopsy results revealed that the late Anstey Ntunje had been struck several times on the head with a blunt object, resulting in blood clots in the brain.
Tumesikitika kwa sababu tunashindwa ni jinsi gani mwalimu anaweza kuadhibu mtoto kwa kumgonga kwa kichwa. Na singesema hivyo ni kwa sababu tumetoka postmortem right now, na ripoti ya daktari imetoka, inaonyesha kwamba yule msichana alikuwa na internal bleeding kwa kichwa.
Human rights groups in the coast region have joined the family in demanding justice and the arrest of the teacher accused of assaulting the minor. Kilifi North Deputy County Commissioner Samuel Mutisya says investigations are underway and necessary legal procedures will be followed.
Ni ghadhabu gani ambayo mwalimu alikuwa nayo dhidi ya yule mwanafunzi mpaka aweze kumpatia kichapo cha umbwa kimfikishie mauti yake? Mpaka sasa habari ambazo tuko nazo za uhakika ni kwamba mwalimu yule hajashikwa wala hajawekwa korokoroni. Ni jambo la kustaajabisha kusikia polisi wanasema ya kwamba hata wanasubiri postmortem report itoke ndio wao waweze kumshika yule mwalimu.
Sisi wote ni wazazi. Mtoto amekuja, pengine unaweza kuona amekupotezea heshima. Ita mzazi wake, kaeni chini, ongeeni, mtoto asungumziwe.
Francis Mtlaki, Citizen TV, Mombasa.
And Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki says there are ongoing efforts by the government to woo the Wiper Patriotic Front leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, to join the government ranks. According to the Deputy President, this is meant to save Kalonzo's political career from what the opposition has become. The Deputy President hosted leaders from Kitui County at the grassroots level and also campaigned for candidates ahead of the by-elections slated for November. Here is Kamau Mwangi with that report.
The government is wooing Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to ditch the opposition.
Fire, see fire.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki says concerted efforts to have the Wiper leadership allegiances are underway.
Na tuwezi kubali wale ndugu yetu anaenda kuungana na watu wengine wakora, wanafundisha yeye mambo ambaye sio yake. Yeye ni muungwana, yeye ni mstaarabu, yeye ni wakili kama mimi, yeye ni msomi, yeye ni mtu organized, yeye ni mtu ya kanisa.
Kindiki says there has been no breakthrough yet, but maintains that the pursuit for the opposition chief is on. Kalonzo had 2 weeks ago told the Ruto administration to quit sending emissaries to him.
Mimi bado na jaribu namna hii. Bado hata ule ndugu yangu, I have not given up. Yeah, I have not given up. Namna hii, don't worry, msiwe na haraka. Namna hii namwambia kuja tusaidiane sasa. Songe.
The DP, who hosted grassroots leaders from Kitui County at his Irondoni home, also took a swipe at the united opposition for adopting a style of politics that he says is meant to derail the government on its delivery, vowing to push for equal development.
Siasa ya upumbavu ya kuleta migawanyiko baina ya wananchi, siasa ya kishetani ya kuhubiri ukabila na chuki na migawanyiko. Sisi tumesema hiyo siasa haina nafasi katika Kenya yetu tena.
The revelations came as his UDA party intensified campaigns in Malava constituency, touting its candidate David Ndakwa as the best option to take over from the late Malulu Injendi.
Tunaenda kura kupata uongozi wa kufanya maendeleo. Upinzani hakuna pesa.
Upinzani hakuna mamlaka, upinzani hakuna uwezo wa kutenda chochote, ni kulalamika, ni kulialia.
Sasa kwanza, kabla ujengea United Opposition, unajua wanaingia kwa upinzani. Neonyalahupa unapatia mtu kura aende upinzani, alafu arereo mwanda anaweza leta
kama Mwangi, Citizen TV.
Older persons are appealing to the government to increase monthly stipends under the Inua Jamii program, saying the cash relief is no longer enough to weather the tough economic times. As the world marks the International Day of the Older Persons, many have also raised concerns over neglect and harassment in their sunset years. And as Emily Chebet details in the following report, the day was also livened up by football legends from across East Africa, reliving their glory days of the 1970s and 80s at the University of Nairobi grounds.
With the old adage, age ain't nothing but a number coming to life, they took to the floor, dancing to different tunes at the Kinyanjui Technical Grounds in Riruta. But behind the rhythm and the moves was a platform. Older persons united not just to celebrate long life, but to speak out on the pressing issues defining their sunset years. From economic hardships to welfare, from insecurity to the quest for respect.
Tuna pesa tunapewa. Hii pesa haitoshi. Tena inachelewa. Kuna miezi ingine tulipata bill.
These days, you people, you have immigrated to town and you have left your mothers and your grandmothers home. They are getting a lot of problems. Loneliness, hunger.
Even as some benefited from donations of mattresses and blankets, they decried insecurity and falling victim to conmen, sometimes people known to them.
Sheria ya employment inasema mshahara ile dogo sana ni 15,000. Hiyo niyo inamaanisha serikali inaelewa Mkenya lazima aishi kwa 15,000. Kwa nini basi mkongwe apewe 2,000?
We have had cases in some of the counties, I don't want to mention them, where the elderly people have actually been accused of witchcraft, and most of them end up being killed.
At the University of Nairobi grounds, the day turned nostalgic. Football legends from Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, stars of the 70s and 80s lacing up their boots once again.
Nakumbuka 1980 tumeenda Uganda, tukacheza na Waganda, tukafika finali na tukashinda hiyo kikombe. Au wachezaji wote wa Uganda nimewaona hapa, ingani wachache, wengine washafariki.
Like there's a striker here from Uganda with whom we clashed in there. I was a striker, and then I had a cut here, and I was stitched by the side of the field, and we eventually won that game. We met the other day, and I told him, do you remember that day? He didn't know that it was the cause of my injury.
The Kenya-Tanzania match, which our neighbors won by a single goal, was less about the scoreline and more about rekindling memories and keeping the legends active.
Those who are interested in the older persons, those who are interested in movement, interested in the power of sports and what it can do. We have people here who have met after so many years, and just seeing the smiles on their faces, seeing the social interaction, that's what we should live for.
Sports keeps the cognitive functions of the body alive. And that mitigates the huge problems like dementia.
The International Day of Older Persons was a reminder that growing old should come with respect, care and celebration, not neglect. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
Royal Media Services, in partnership with Zizi Afrique Foundation, will conduct a 4-episode education town hall series starting on the 13th of October this year. Speaking during the official launch of the partnership at the Royal Media Services headquarters in Nairobi, the group's editorial director, Linus Kaikai, said the forums will involve ordinary members of the public seeking answers and accountability from policymakers from the government, unions and other policy leaders with an aim of unpacking national issues for the public to gain good. The upcoming town hall session on the 13th will be centered on the competency-based education, the national system of education under the implementation in Kenya under the theme, Transition from Junior Secondary School to Senior Secondary School.
So thank you.
And we all know how critical the education sector in this country is. It is at a critical junction right now where there's transition in the CBE system. There are also challenges that we are also witnessing. All this should be put to the table for discussion, and this is what this partnership brings up. It gives a platform to Kenyans to have a say on how the education sector is being run.
We hope to bring in even more partners to be able to be part of this conversation, because we believe the reforms that are going on at the moment are very important reforms, and the public and especially communities and citizens cannot just be bystanders and people who participate passively. So we look forward to very exciting conversations in the coming days.
And the climate question has been very important, especially in the context of Kenya and the southern part of the world, which informs why Nairobi hosted the climate conference in September 2023. And this evening from the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology in Kakamega County, will be putting into focus and context the purely aspirational agreements and what they mean at the devolved unit level. The Governor Kakamega County, Fernandez Barasa, will be joining us. In his company will be his counterpart from Vihiga County, Wilbur Otichulo, who is an enthusiast when it comes to matters relating to climate. Also, the Vice Chancellor of this institution, Professor Solomon Shibairo, as well as Dr. Caroline Molinya, Senior Lecturer at the KFAU, as well as Alan Ligare, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Missouri Organics, who will be joining us to give us their input as regards that very important subject. And for now, I'll hand you over to Olive Barrows at the Communications Center for the business and sports news.
That's right, Ayub. We'll be back on the other side of this break with the latest on AGOA. After it expires, what does it mean for Kenya's apparel sector? Stay tuned.
Our biggest fear is that we are going to lose orders, we are going to lose jobs. Some people even will go back to the streets.
Over 60,000 jobs at risk as exporters contemplate their next move following the expiry of the 25-year-old AGOA Trade Pact.
Last 2.5 decades, Kenya's apparel sector has seen tremendous growth, backed by the African Growth and Opportunities Act, AGOA, in the United States, which allowed Kenyan-made apparels access into the vast American market free of tariffs. But with AGOA now expired as of the 30th of September 2025, the sector is in limbo with no deal yet in sight. Jimmy Mbogo visited the export processing zones in Kitengela to assess the preparedness of Kenyan manufacturers who may now be forced to seek alternative markets for their goods or make significant cutbacks that will have far-reaching impact on tens of thousands of jobs.
Beneath the steady rhythmic buzzing sound of sewing machines and the calm demeanor of their operators lies a huge uncertainty. For the workers at this export processing zone, the future is not as clear as it once was. The Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, a trade deal between the United States and 32 African countries, has expired. According to data from the Export Processing Zone Authority, over 50% of the total exports under the Export Processing Zone EPZ program are destined for the U.S. market. This, which was once the guarantee for their daily bread, now turning into their biggest concern.
Because we love to scale down operation to make sure that we look at the orders and we negotiate with the buyers who are willing to pay the tax, and we have to share maybe 50-50. It's not easy.
Our hope is that it comes back, and when it does, it basically means that we can give a lot of opportunities for the people who are working here for us. Right now, our facility has a capacity of 650 employees. This unit alone has a capacity of 650, and we are operating at under 200 people.
The government of Kenya itself not giving any firm assurances.
So in a situation where there is back and forth, you're not too sure whether it will be renewed or not, what the tariff will be, you want to play within the short run.
Data from the Export Processing Zone Authority shows that over the last 5 years, employment soared from 45,588 in 2020 to 66,804 people by the end of 2024. Those jobs now at risk.
Our biggest fear is that we are going to lose orders, we are going to lose jobs. Some people even will go back to the streets because wengine wametoka huko.
Hatujui tutaenda wapi, tunategemea kampuni zimefungwa, mapato yetu tutapata vipi, tutaenda wapi?
So these parents are depending on me. I'm the second born. I'm the one who's a bit stable in the family. So they directly depend on me. Every month I have to service their medication and what have you. Tuko na mfanyikazi nyumbani, ananitegemea. Niko na in-laws. Niko na kijana nasomesha kutoka kwa in-laws pia. So hao watu wote, over 20 people, they are depending directly on me.
The expiry of AGOA means that President Trump's 10% tariff on Kenya's products now takes effect, resulting in an increase in the price of goods and a likely decline in export orders, which stood at over 60.57 billion shillings in 2024.
It costs anywhere between $10 to $15 to just make a pair of sweatpants, from buying the raw materials all the way to getting it to the consumer, to the buyer in the US. With the tax increases, that may go up another, 40 to 50% more.
There will be a shortfall of demand because the moment you're selling a garment at $50 and then you increase it to $70, the demand will be as low as it will come lower as compared to what you have been selling.
The expiry of AGOA now puts close to 50,000 jobs here at the export processing zone in jeopardy. From those that we've been able to speak to, their only call is for the government to make urgent interventions and find a lasting solution to safeguard their livelihoods. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV in Kitengela, Kajiado County.
Kenya has set an ambitious goal to triple coffee production to 150,000 metric tons within the next 3 years. Speaking at the 2025 International Coffee Day celebrations in Nairobi, the corporator's principal secretary, Patrick Kilemi, outlined key reforms to drive the growth. They include the direct settlement system, which guarantees farmers at least 80% of the sale value, and the 9.7 billion shillings cherry fund designed to provide growers with affordable financing. Coffee production, which once peaked at 150,000 tons in the 1980s before plunging to 30,000, is now on the rebound.
Out of these bushes, our productivity per bush is actually below 2 kgs per bush. But what you have seen from CRI, from good farmers who are practicing good agronomy practices, you are able to get up to 40, 50 kgs per bush. So we are focusing on productivities of the bushes, which is already there, and we are calling that vertical growth. We are also focusing on horizontal growth by increasing the acreage under coffee.
Because this is a multi-billion industry given by our farmers and our hardworking farmers. So today basically is a day just to recognize them, recognize the sweat, and commit as the new KPCU and also the government through the ministry and the national government that will continue we commit to supporting this farmer even as we continue with the rally call of increasing our domestic consumption and also our production in the country.
In the semi-arid plains of Kamulu, farmers are turning to greenhouse cultivation of coloured capsicum, the red, yellow and orange varieties that are transforming unproductive land into profitable agribusiness hubs. At the centre of this change is Boniface Mosoti. On tonight's Smart Farm, Dennis Otieno brings us a story from Nairobi's Eastlands Frontier.
In Kamulu, where the soil is dry and rainfall erratic, vibrant capsicum plants flourish under the protective cover of greenhouse tunnels. These aren't just any capsicums. They are the brightly colored varieties. And at the heart of this green revolution is Boniface Mosoti.
When I bought this property, I thought it was good enough to build my home. And then what remained is I started doing capsicum farming in greenhouses.
Which year was it?
That was immediately after COVID, 2022.
Inspired by a friend growing capsicums in nearby Katani, Mosoti switched from fruit trees to greenhouse farming, a decision that's paying off.
In this area, I had planted a lot of fruits trees like avocado, lemons, and oranges. When I came, I started with 2 greenhouses here, and they grew very well. And I said within 3 months, you start harvesting and making much more money than you would wait for 3 years to harvest fruits.
With over 7 greenhouses spread across nearly 2 acres, Mosoti is now a model grower using drip irrigation, propagation specialists, and biological foliar feeds to maximize yield. Inside the greenhouses, temperatures are regulated, pests are controlled, and capsicums thrive.
Hii ya colored haiwezi persist na hizi na hii climate ya nje. Nataka mahali kuko conducive mambo ya choto lazima ikuwe because yes hivi kama hakuna choto. So lazima ikuwe kwa greenhouse. Imefunikwa, hakuna baridi yes ingia rahisi. Alafu kuna nasema kuna unaifanyia drip irrigation. Na tena it's a way, it is free from nasema dangerous animals. Zenye zinaweza attack wakati wa usiku.
From planting to harvest, the process takes 3 months, with each plant carefully managed for optimum growth.
Kuna madawa inasaidia kuipost kae kubwa, alafu ndio unaongojea iweze kuiva peke yake. So kuna pruning pia wakati inaweka branches. Hatutakanga branches mingi, tunatakanga at least maximum ikuwe 4 to 5 branches kwa mmea. Ndio hizi zingine hizi matunda yaweze kupata chakula, iweze vizuri iweze kunona.
Bright, bold, and booming, colored capsicums are changing the game in most semi-arid areas of the country. These red, yellow, and orange gems are thriving in local greenhouses, fetching premium prices in Nairobi and other urban markets.
Prices they vary. When it is a high season, you can get up to 400 shillings, up to 200 shillings farm gate. But in the supermarket, you can get up to 400 to 500 shillings a kilo. Or one piece, a good sizable piece is about 70 to 100 shillings, one piece. But again, in the low season, when they are flooded in the market, you can get as low as 80 shillings a kilo. Or you get a piece at 30 bob, that shillings a kilo. But in whichever case, red colored capsicum, you will not go wrong. Even if it is 50 shillings a kilo, you will still get your margin.
From feeding, pruning to pest control, all must be fine-tuned for maximum production.
A 12 by 50 greenhouse can carry up to 1,200 to 1,400 plants. And so like these ones, they are about 3 greenhouses. So we are talking about 4,000 plus plants. Now per greenhouse, when fed properly, we can harvest about between 300 and 400 kilos per harvest in a week.
Dennis Otieno, Smart Farm.
New kids on the block, Nairobi United have kicked off the Kenya Premier League campaign with a narrow 1-0 win over APS Bomet in a match played at the Awendo Green Stadium. The win complicates matters for APS, who have now lost their opening 3 matches of the season. On a busy afternoon for the league, former champions Tusker FC have finally picked a point after 3 matches in a barren draw against Mathare United. Kenya Police FC also started their league campaign with a barren draw against Ulinzi Stars at the Police Sacco Stadium. The league takes a break on Thursday to resume on Friday with 2 matches in Nairobi. The Kenya Hockey Union is hopeful that the national teams for the Africa Cup of Nations will travel between the 9th and 10th of October. Kenya has entered the men and the women teams in the tournament that starts on the 11th to the 18th of October 2025 in Ismailia, Egypt. The Hockey Union has endured a rough patch financially, with the teams training without allowances. The coaches have blended experience and youth in the teams and hope that they will do wonders in Egypt.
Some of the under-21s were already in the national team, but a few of them, but quite a number, numbering to about 5, are coming in for the first time into the senior team, but they've been in the under-21s and under-18s.
The Kenya Para-Fencing Federation is gearing up for a busy 2 months where 10 of the best para-fencers from Kenya will take part in 2 important tournaments in Europe and Asia. The federation is holding trials to pick a team of 10 fencers for the World Championships to be held in Thailand in November. Kenya will be represented at the World Championships by 3 disciplines, that is para-athletics, para-shooting and para-fencing. But before the World Championships, the selected team will head to Turkey for a 1-week beach fencing competition, which is expected to sharpen their skills ahead of the World Championships. The federation is calling on the government to set up a residential training camp to allow the team more training together.
Fencing is a very expensive event because of the gear that they do wear when playing the fencing. So it is an expensive event. But we hope that the government is going to support, and we're happy because right now the government has really been supporting us.
Like this is the first time tunacheza hii game na iko poa. Like tukiendelea kufanya more training, I think Kenya tutakuwa juu kiasi. Tutakuwa mahali somewhere.
The techniques are still not okay. The basics, they know what they are doing. The parries, the points, wanajua vile wanafaa kuget. But shida ni hawajui kustrategize. They don't know how to manage the time. They just do shasha things. But right, they're okay. So far, they are okay.
Hosts Bandari FC will face FC Leopards in the opening match of the ODM at 20 football tournament that will be played in Mombasa on the 9th and 10th of October. Gor Mahia will then take on Shabana in the second match of the tournament to be played at Bandari's home ground, and that is Mbaraki Stadium. The winners from those 2 matches will meet in the finals, while the losers will play for the 3rd place. The tournament will be played during the FIFA international break, with the winners taking home 1 million shillings. The tournament is part of ODM's 20-year celebrations.
This is to encourage not just other parties, but even other individuals, that the only way we will lift soccer is not to keep pointing hands at the government. The only way we lift soccer is to do what we can do individually.
Tumepanga hii tournament ikuwe tournament iko juu standard sana. Ndio maana pia tumefanya kazi pamoja na wenzetu kutoka FKF Technical Committee ambao wamekuja kutusaidia kuhakikisha kwamba professionalism na zile regulations ambazo ni za mpira kutoka kwa FIFA na FKF zimezingatiwa.